Go on, go on. It's quite safe. Excellent. Okay, thanks for coming along. My name's Kim Marriott and I lead the Computer-Human Interaction and Creativity group, Chic, which is running this night. And I'd like to start by acknowledging the people of the Kulin Nations on whose land we are currently standing. And they've looked after this land for 65,000 years. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. So what we're going to be talking about are possible PhD projects. Is everybody here interested in a PhD project? Possibly? Yeah? Yeah, maybe? Or did you just come for the beer and the free food? Okay, so let's talk about where Chic fits within the faculty. So the Faculty of IT has 4 major research themes, and computer-human interaction and creativity is one of those themes. And it also has a number of groups, and it also has a number of themes in digital health, energy and applied AI. Now, question is, probably the question you're asking yourself is, why should I do a PhD? And the sort of boring answer is it's a requirement for certain types of jobs. So if you want to become an academic, well then you really are going to have to do a PhD. If you want an R&D career in top tech companies, particularly US-based ones, European ones, a PhD is going to help an awful lot. But the better reason is because it's stimulating and rewarding. So if you do a PhD, you're basically going to spend the next 3.5 years of your life researching something that you hopefully find interesting. Even better, something that you're passionate about. And by the time you finish, you're going to be the world expert in it. So there's going to be nobody else in the world, your supervisor, nobody else is going to know more than you about that topic. You will be the person with the most knowledge in the world. And that's a pretty amazing thing. It's probably the only time in your life that you'll get to work on something that you're interested in without any other interruptions, without any other requirements on your time in your life. And I just wanted to say there are also different kinds of PhDs. So the sort of PhD that most people do is with a standard thesis. So typically in Chic, what will happen is that you write some papers, do some experiments, write some papers, and then collect those into a PhD thesis, write that up, and that's set out to examiners. But there is also a practice-based PhD, which you'll hear more about later, and that's where you create an artefact or you have exhibitions, and that's the outcome of your PhD, and you're judged by people who go to those exhibitions or experience your artefact. Are there any questions at this stage? I do want this to be interactive. So if you've got, yeah.
Yeah, as for the PhD, where we have the PhD by publication, like we can just publish a certain amount of conference or journal paper. And then
so that's less common, but it's very similar to the standard thesis. So that's another way of doing it as well. Now, why, if you're interested in doing a PhD in HCI, why would you come to Monash? So this is where I get to boast a little bit. In the last couple of years, we've really built our HCI research up. We've hired lots of really stellar people. We've built resources, facilities like SensiLab, which you're standing in, which you're going to get a chance to walk around if you haven't already done so. It costs something like $5 million. It's absolutely astounding. We've got AV, virtual reality, augmented reality labs. We've got a usability lab. We've got facilities that are among the best in the world. We're currently, based on papers in ACM CHI, which is a premier HCI conference last year, we're the best in Australia and we're in the top 20 in the world, which is pretty amazing. So we've got great facilities, we've got awesome people, and when I say awesome people, what's great about the group is we've got people who are great researchers, but they're also nice. And that combination doesn't always go together. Okay? So it's actually a nice group to work with. And you'll get help and you can go and talk to people. We've got great students. So it's a really collaborative, great environment to work in. The other thing is we're well connected internationally. We have strong relationships with lots of different companies, lots of different universities, Microsoft, etc., etc. Basically, because we're very internationally focused. So we've got those connections, which is a great benefit if you're doing a PhD here, because that sets you up for moving on in your career in the future. And Monash and us provide quite a lot of research support. So you've got the facilities that I was talking about, you get money for travel, and the faculty is probably going to increase the money that you get for travel. I've also been told that because you're part of Chic, you'll get extra support for your for paying for materials and for paying for user studies. This is hot off the press. So that so you will have everything that you need to do to create a great PhD. Most importantly though, yes, we have fun. So you want to be doing something that you really enjoy, and that's what doing a PhD should be about. Maybe writing up's not quite so much fun, but the rest of it should be a lot of fun. Okay, these ex-PhD students are smiling. I'm not sure if they're agreeing or going. Yeah, good. Okay, so more information, and we will look at these websites in a minute, but basically about Chic, you can go and look at the Chic website, and also about the PhD application process. There's a website for doing that. And I assume these slides and everything will be made available. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Chic. It's divided into 6 different subgroups. So we keep growing, but we have human-centered AI, immersive analytics, SensiLab, which is of course based here, emerging tech, which is joint with MADA, Action Lab, and inclusive tech. And what I'm going to do is to go through those just very quickly, and also point out academics who belong to those different groups and projects. So Action Lab doesn't actually have a website, so this is because they're so new, led by Patrick Olivia. And they're basically, what they're interested in doing is really research that's really engaged with the world. They're interested in changing things, as the name suggests. They're interested in changing society, making it more inclusive, and excellent. They do a lot of participatory studies. They've got projects with Oxfam, working overseas, etc. So they do a lot of really interesting stuff. Now what I'm going to do is hopefully go and look. Yeah. So this is the Chic website, and things that you might look on there are join us. The reason for doing that is it's got a list of possible PhD projects. Now, this is not up to date, so we really, in the next couple of days or next week or so, we'll be looking and adding more projects there. But it's important to realise that the list of projects here is not exhaustive. And if you have a particular project that you're interested in or passionate about, then you should go and talk to the academic who has the project that's closest to that. Go and talk to them, because they're quite likely to be interested in your project as well. Okay, so the projects just give you a sort of general idea about what particular people are interested in, but there are other things that you could do. So that's really important to realise. Now let's have the look at the different groups. So sorts of projects that they do, inclusive tech. Is that not working? Okay. Looking at different ways you can improve access to graphics for people who are blind or have low vision, accessible gallery experiences, interactive 3D prints, books for the vision impaired, etc. Braille learning keyboard, that sort of thing. Who's here from inclusive tech? So quite a few of us. So come and talk to us later if you're interested in potential project with us. We have SensiLab, of course, and let's look at some of the projects there. Sensi. Oh. Yeah, hang on. Thanks, Lizzie. So, SensiLab clearly has the best website out of our groups. Lots of amazing different sorts of projects, lots of creativity, lots of digital media. There's digital production, you know, playing around with new technologies, not nanotechnology, but digital fabrication, etc. Who's here from SensiLab? Okay, so yep, go and talk to the people from SensiLab if you're interested, and of course have a look around SensiLab and see just the amazing facility that's here. And we have immersive analytics, and what immersive analytics is concerned with. Good. Okay. It's visualization, but it's visualization, data visualization, traditional data visualization, but also a lot of work using new technologies like augmented reality and virtual reality to try and understand data, make better decision making. It also looks at tangibles, basically new generation interfaces and display technologies to better understand data. Who's here from immersive analytics? Okay, so go and talk to these people if you're interested. I would also probably put my hand up as well. And we have human-centered AI. And human-centered AI is interested in creating new interface technologies and interfaces like natural language, brain-computer interfaces, etc., which make use of artificial intelligence, robots, etc. Who is here from human-centered AI? Beautiful. So go and talk to Jared if you're interested in a particular project. Yep. And last, but certainly not least, we have Emerging Tech Lab. So, this is an example of an interface that I find annoying. Good. Okay. And so what the Emerging Tech Lab is about, it's much more ethnographic in focus, so social sciences. So it's trying to understand how emerging technologies can be used in actual workplaces, in actual context. Okay? And so digital energy futures, there's also driverless cars, and lots of participatory design, co-design. And Emerging Tech, do we have anyone from Emerging Tech?
No one being here tonight, but I can take questions.
Yeah. So Sarah Pink is the lead of that group. So if you're interested in those projects, then I highly recommend that you talk to her. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Are there any questions? No? Okay. So, I'd like to invite Yulong, who is a former PhD student, an excellent former PhD student. He's going to tell you a little bit about whatever he wants to, really.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you the secret of doing a PhD here. Yeah, so my name is Xiaolong Yang. I just finished my PhD early this year, actually January, and after that I did 8 months postdoc at the same place with the same people. So you can say how I love those people. And
We're actually in the room now, so that maybe he doesn't really.
yeah. So I'm going to tell you what is kind of involved in my PhD life in the last 3 or 4 years. So I'll start with the black box of PhD. So the most important thing when you start to do a PhD, I think, is the research topic. So you are not sure what you want to do. You are not sure what you can do. This is a really difficult part when you start a PhD. So usually you will consider something of your current skills, what you can do now to find a topic. But this is not necessary. I will talk about later. The PhD actually gives you a sufficient time. You can explore new possibilities. You can learn new skills. You are not limited to what you have now. But a lot of cases is kind of develop this kind of connection here. But I use dotted lines, so they are not solid. Another very useful inputs to construct a very good research topic is your supervisors. They are really support. They will really support you. And in my case, I have 5 supervisors. So yeah, 5 supervisors. That means I can get a lot of opinions for a lot of things, and I have the right to decide what to do. So that's the really awesome part. So your supervisor, I think at the beginning, your supervisors and your current skills are really contribute to form what you are going to do in the PhD. Kind of, that's my experience. After you find out what you really want to do, then do it. And do it during the process you do it, you will find some useful things. So you will build new skills. Take me as an example. So when I first started my PhD, I haven't done any visualization before. So my research topic is about visualization. So the first JavaScript website I wrote is in my first year of my PhD. The first application I wrote got a best paper honorable mention in the best conference of information visualization in the world. So this is I develop new skills. And after my first year of PhD, I suddenly decided it's time to go for VR. So even I have no experience about VR at all. So I just develop new skills. I learned how to use Unity, how to use 3D modeling, and how to put on VR headset. Am I taking too long?
No, I just need to do something.
Okay.
The people at home watching need to see it too.
Okay. And I learned how to do VR, and in the next 2 years, my research is more focused on the VR part. You can check out my website for more details. Is viz.yalongyang.com. Easy to remember. And another thing is about publications. So do not say publication as a stress. I will say publication as a record of your success. You will get published, and a lot of people will read your paper, and you get well known to people you care about. So this is actually the next thing I want to talk about is the community. When I first started my PhD, I never understand what community means to me. I thought about like community is a cluster of people, and I don't know how it works. But after 3 years, I attended a few different international conferences, and I know a lot of different PhD students from other universities in the world, other senior researchers. So I kind of feel like community is a really power to drive your research in 20 or 30 years. If you really want to do the research in a long term, you need to get involved in the community, and the community will really reward what you did for them. And of all those you got from your PhD, your supervisor is going to contribute a lot. They are going to help you develop new skills because they have more experience with all the different skills, and they are going to help with your publications. They are really good writer, and they know how you should form your research questions, how you should articulate specific things, and they are really good to help you stand in the community because they already know a lot of senior people than you, and they will help you to build this connection. So after all this, you are jump out of the PhD box. Congratulations. And now you need to decide whether you go for an industry job or continue academia. Actually, I think both ways are awesome because there is it's just a title, I would say. You still keep doing what you want to do. And if you do not care about salary, remaining in academic feels really good. And this is what I choose to do. So I'm currently doing a postdoc, and I'm going to leave Monash at the end of this month. I feel sorry about that. I'm going to head into the United States, and I'm going to start a new position at Harvard University. So I'm going to still do what I want to do, and I will still keep the connection with Monash and with my supervisors, my collaborators, and we are going to create cool and new stuff. Thank you.
So Pat is also a former PhD student.
My name's Pat. I did a PhD here. I worked for 12 months as a postdoc researcher as well, and I've gone on to industry. And my background is a little bit interesting in an IT faculty in that I'm a musician and mathematician. So where did I start from to end up here? So as a musician, I'm a saxophonist and composer. So I was writing music for films and games and making albums and doing gigs. And then to pay for that addiction, I worked in mathematics. So I did a mathematics degree as well. I got a job doing environmental modeling and doing exciting things like Bayesian networks and Markov models. And then I got another job working with iterative function systems, so looking at compression algorithms and things like that. And it reminded me of a book that I read as a teenager by this guy, Douglas Hofstadter, called Gödel, Escher, Bach, and he looks for parallels between the artwork of M.C. Escher, the music of Bach, and the mathematics of a guy called Gödel, who had a huge influence on the field of computer science. So I thought, well, maybe computer science and AI is the way to tie these two interests that I have together. So I did a PhD. I looked around the world and I found John McCormack, who runs SensiLab here, who is world-renowned as a researcher working in bio-inspired computing for creative purposes, and also as an artist. So you can find his stuff in the Victoria Albert Museum, Ars Electronica, all around the world. Contacted him and he was happy to take me on. One of the cool things about doing a PhD here was that my second supervisor, Vince, is actually from MARA, so that's the art design and architecture faculty here. So I managed to keep some one foot in the creative world and 1 foot here in the creative side of IT. So the other cool people that I met here were other people at SensiLab, like what I call the SensiLabites, especially people like Elliot, the lab manager here, who just knows everything about everything. And then the things. Resources here. So we have a sonic lab. I don't know of any other IT department faculty around that will have an audio research space, which is like a world-class room down there. And maybe after the talk, I can show some of you guys that space. And the other was we have access to a kind of a supercomputer for doing deep learning, which is where my research ended up going. And by combining those two things and working for a few years doing research. So my area of research was adaptive music systems for interactive media, so using AI to assist creative practice and making sure that when AI is used in creative practice, it's being led by creative individuals and the voices of composers and other artists are being taken, not just into account, but at the front line of that. And what has that resulted in? So as I said, I did a postdoc here for a while, and then I got contacted by some people in San Francisco who wanted to start a company doing music AI. So now I'm the principal systems architect and technical lead there. We've built an office in Melbourne. I'm running a team of about 5 people, and it's growing, and have some contact with some really exciting, internationally renowned musicians over there, which has been great. Cheers.
Our next 2 speakers are current PhDs, and they'll tell you what it's really like to be a PhD student.
So I'm Harshini, a second year PhD student. So I think I would not talk much about the research, but how I get here, because being a international student and again talk a lot about the people that Kim mentioned. So my PhD pathway studies kind of started a few years back. When I was in Sri Lanka, I was kind of enjoying my undergraduate studies and enjoying my research as well. But I wasn't in a position, not kind of quite ready to pursue a research career. I wanted to test by my own, and that's why I decided to go to the industry. So I started with a software engineering career, and there I didn't stay much longer, only 2 years, and decided this is not my passion. So and decided I should start with a PhD or postgraduate opportunities. So what I did was I joined the undergrad university as a junior academic, and to make me in a position to better apply for a PhD position, what I did was try to get some publications in fairly good HCI venues, because by that time I kind of realized my passion is going to be human-computer interaction, and I want to build something really good for people, the real needs of the people, and particularly in mental health area. So with these publications and an award I won in my undergrad study, what I did was applying for a couple of places in Australia, particularly interested about Australia, and got 5 offers with scholarships. I was quite lucky at that time, and I chose Monash over the other places simply because of my supervisor. I really liked and thought her values aligns with me, and she kind of had the background from mental health area, and the other thing is the location. But I think by this time you kind of have the kind of better reasons to select Monash, because as Kim said, we are kind of getting the largest HCI research groups in Australia. So with the help of Kirsten, I approached my supervisors, Sharon from AI and Glenn Melvin from psychology, another faculty, and to align with my idea of research, which is to design effective self-regulation technologies for anxiety. And what I was doing in my first year was doing a qualitative work with psychologists to explore what is the research gap that I'm actually looking at. So that is kind of a completely new task for me because I'm coming from a computer science and engineering background. But it was a wonderful study and could reveal me that an interesting research gap, which is we want to the need of finding and designing for temporally adaptive anxiety self-regulation technologies which are capable of detecting anxiety phases. So what I'm doing currently is kind of collecting data to prove that concept, and I'm going in that direction. So if you want me to talk about the research, we can talk later. But apart from my research and the supervisors that I enjoy most, the other things that I enjoy most about the Monash is the facilities we have and the people that I'm surrounded with. The people in Chic, if you take them, so they are the people that I always seek support from. So they are coming from multidisciplinary areas and they have different skill sets. So if I want to go for somebody and brainstorm some design ideas or analytic ideas, or if I want somebody to get support about some with my pilot testing, or if I need somebody perhaps to have an extra eye on one of the papers that I'm writing, so I'll always go for them. So they make me opportunities to reach the resources that I want, and they encourage me to achieve higher, and they encourage me to build new connections that will be valuable in my future research career, and even they indirectly support me making my all good friends and traveling the world. So and there is this another community that I value the most, which is the PhD student community. So they're kind of the second family to me. So there is a set of friends who actually visit me at the midnight on my birthday, because they just believe that I'm going to be alone, and because my parents are not with me to celebrate, so they drop at my home to celebrate. So so with this kind of nice people, wonderful people, so without them I don't think I will be able to continue my PhD challenge and enjoy every single bit of it. So I invite you warmly to join us and enjoy this wonderful, amazing PhD journey, and hopefully see you soon. Thank you.
And our second PhD student is Nina, and she's doing a very different sort of PhD.
It's not that different.
Sorry.
This works?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I think it's for online. Yeah.
Online. Okay, cool. Cool. So, hey guys, I'm Nina. I'm just started my PhD about a year ago, just under a year, and I'm doing a practice-based PhD, which is a bit different from I think everybody we've seen so far. So I'm probably just going to show you. It's more about like me, basically. You'll see a lot of photos of me. It's basically just my progress of like how far I've come in the last year. So my background is in physics. I originally studied physics, like maths and physics in my bachelor's, then did masters in that. Didn't really want to continue that in that field in academia because it's kind of just a bit dry and like removed from like the real world. I don't know, I just wasn't really into it. And then I tried to kind of go into industry and did like, tried to work as a developer in like data, that kind of like area. Also not super interesting. So I just thought doing a PhD would make sense because it's basically, able to just like do something new and combine a lot of my different skills to kind of get to that point. Because what I wanted to do basically was combine science and those kind of interests that I had with like more artistic things as well, which I didn't really think existed so much. But then I found Sensi Lab, and John McCormack and everybody here, and that kind of like led me to do that. So yeah, I'll just go through like the progress of what I've done. I started off with my proposal, which was really broad, but it was basically just trying to do a little bit of, so in the area of creative AI, which I was interested in because I had background in like machine learning when I was doing physics. So I thought that would make sense, but then also wanted to kind of have this component of like effective computing, which is like using emotion detection and stuff like that, which actually wasn't really happening at Sensi Lab, but I kind of, I guess, was asked to come up with like a proposal. Like I thought that maybe I would be given something, but it was more like, oh, what do you want to do? So I kind of came up with this, and I'd really started from like scratch. I didn't really know much about this industry or the field at all. So my huge face. Basically where I started was just like playing around with stuff because it's practice-based, so that's kind of the point, is to just like play around with what exists and like try to like progress my practice through that. What I ended up doing or starting to do, like prototype, was looking at machine-generated poetry and how to work that into emotion detection. So this is basically a thing that I wrote that just did like really basic emotion detection on facial expression, and then used that to seed a poetry generator. I use the GPT-2. I don't know if anybody has heard of it, but it just basically just seeds the generator and then creates kind of like an AI poem. And there's like another example. I don't know why. Oh, that looks really bad. So basically, then I was kind of like pushed to turn this into like more of a design thing, and how am I going to make this a physical interface? Because that's kind of my idea, wasn't just to have this like on a laptop, on a computer screen, but to actually have like more of a physical kind of like piece of work that I'm like, you know, building up on eventually, like for the end of the 3 years, to have this exhibition. So the idea was to have the interface be basically built into a smart mirror, so that the camera would be behind the mirror, and then the emotion would be detected, and then the poetry would kind of appear on the surface of the mirror. This is a schematic. And then we built it as well. So this has all happened within like space of months, which is, I find, amazing. We built the thing, and I just kind of like fine-tuned it. I trained the neural network to basically make the poetry more like what I wanted it to be. So that was a very like artistic kind of process of like curation that I had never done before, but it was really fun. And this is a video. And yeah, I just worked with the interface and stuff. This is like as it progresses. Nothing happens. Let's move on. Yeah, and so then now I'm at the point where I've created this thing, and like now I'm basically doing user testing, trying to like write a paper about it and get people's feedback, and it's kind of like this design project. It's like iterative. And it's not here today because I had to take it home so I could do more like participant interviews and stuff, but I wish you guys could see it, but yeah, that's all. Oh.
Great.
Sorry.
No. Thanks, Nita. So that wraps up the formal presentations. Now there's an opportunity for you to go out, have a look around Sensi Lab, talk to PhD students, former PhD students and current PhD students, potential supervisors, have a look at some of the cool stuff that's around here, grab a beer. But before you go, let's thank Lizzie for organising this event. Lizzie, you've done a fantastic job. Thank you so much. So now, go and circulate, look around, choose a potential PhD supervisor, work out what